Past Friday, everybody's talking about what took place at Bedford Central this past Friday as men and the women join us in our drive-by fish fry. And I spent some time in the kitchen trying to do my part in contributing to what took place here on this Friday. And we recognized something great was about to happen in gathering here. But it took me, when I was spending time in the kitchen with the men and the women who participated, that it took me back to my childhood. It really took me back to my childhood because I had a father who was an excellent cook. He was good in the kitchen. My dad, every Sunday, as long as I can remember, prepared Sunday dinner. As long as I can remember, he was the one who got everything going every single Sunday here. He was able to make some delicious meals. Even coming from church, you could smell the curried chicken. You could smell the stewed chicken. You could smell the curry goat from distances down the streets here. He would make some of the best steamed cabbage you could ever think of. Engage with peppers and put all kind of seasoning on it. It would make you want to wiggle your toe just tasting my father's cooking. He was an excellent cook. And I enjoy his cooking, and I tell him from time to time, Dad, you are great. But there was one thing that my dad would cook that I did not like. I did not, as a boy, like okra. It was too slimy. It was, no matter what you do with okra, you could steam it, you could fry it, you could boil it. It was too slick for me as a child. And now I'm older, I recognize the importance of it, but I remember how it would bother me. And I said, Daddy, you say you love me. Why do you give me okra every Sunday? And he would say, boy, over and over again, boy, because it is good for you. It is good for you. This morning, as we look at the book of Job, every now and then we need to know that Job is good for us. We try to stay away from Job because we think Job is not good for devotions. We think Job is not good for reflection. But every now and then we need a dosage of Job. Every now and then we need to have a dialogue why bad things happen to good people. Every now and then, as brothers, we need to pause and ask God, with all that we go through in life, why do I have to work so hard and still struggle so much? Why is it, oh God, that you haven't answered my prayer? Why is it that you keep sometimes your love away from me and you do not answer the prayer I pray? God, why do sickness have to come to my house? Why do cancer have to stop by my house? Why, oh God, do I have to always be the one when others on my block is not trusting you? It seems as if life is going good for them. For those of us who trust you, it seems as if things are always happening to us. Why do we need a dosage of Job? And when you look at the scripture, it reminds us right here that God is with us to remind us that with us we can handle anything that comes our way. We can handle anything that comes our way. And all of us one day will be Job. One day all of us will be Job. One day you're going to recognize that I have become Job here. So I want to give you the background so you can understand the breakdown this morning. I want to give you the context so you can understand the content of this man's Job. In 2 chapters, chapter 1 and chapter 2 of Job, we know everything we ought to know about Job here. The Bible tells us that where he was from, and it tells us that Job was the best man in town. He was the best man in his town. When you look at the resume of Job, it cannot be compared to your resume and my resume. The Bible tells us, number one, that Job was blameless. That Job was indeed an upright man. That Job was indeed one who fears God. And Job was one who shunned evil. Wow! He was blameless. Can you say that? That he was upright. He fears God. And he shunned evil. We don't have resumes like that. That Job was holy and yet prosperous. That Job was a man who loved God. And so one day the Bible tells us that there was a conversation between Satan and God, and Satan showed up as Job was having a conversation with God, and Satan shows up, and in the midst of that conversation, God said to Satan, Satan, I know somebody who loves me. I know somebody who is committed to me. I know somebody who focuses on me. And Satan said, God, if you will remove the hedge around him and allow me to be in correspondence with him for a little while, I tell you, he will curse you to your face and die. Conversation between Job and God. You need to know that every time, even this morning, every time the brothers and sisters show up, Satan shows up in church. Wherever the righteous is, Satan is right here. And God took a bet on Job, and God allowed Satan to have Job for a little while. And in 2 verses, 2 chapters, Job lost everything here. He lost his camel and his oxen. He lost his sheep in one day. He lost all his employees in one day. In one day, 10 of his children died tragically. In one day. In one day, his body was infested with a disease. In one day. Everything happened to Job. Have you ever been there? And above all, Mrs. Job showed up and said to Job, based on what we are going through, Job, I think we should just curse God and die. That's what. Have you ever been there where you want to give up? Don't pick on Miss Job. Have you ever been there where you want to give up on God? Times when you wanted to say to God, I trusted you, I love you, and you have not come through for me? Have you ever been there where you have made so much effort and it seems as if God is absent? Have you ever wanted to break up with God? Have you ever sent a message saying, God, this thing between you and I are not working out? Because it seems as if you're blessing everybody else but me. Have you ever been there? Ask God what Janet Jackson asked us. What have you done for me lately? That's what Job was going through. I've been there, and I'm not ashamed to say I've been there. My dad worked for nearly 50 years in the church as an usher and as a deacon. And I watched my dad when dementia took over his mind. Didn't even know the church that he was sitting in. And I watched him lose his mind. And I said, God, couldn't you have taken him another way? Couldn't you have kept his mind so he could recognize his children? Keep on living. Keep on living. When it's your mother and your father, you want to break up with God and say, God, this thing is not working between us. Children gone. Body sick. And yet, Job is saying, I trust you, God. After you have lost everything, Job is saying, I still trust you. I still love you. How come, Job? Where did you get this kind of indestructible faith? How come you could tell God, no matter if my mom is sick, no matter if my child has committed suicide, I will still trust you? You will be Job one day. You will be Job. But you want to break up with God. You will be Job when cancer is rigging your body or a loved one that you care for. You will be Job as a loved one that you have is hit down by the reality of a stroke. You will be Job as you stand by the dialysis machine. One day, you will be Job. How come Job could hold on to his belief in God and say, I trust you? How come he could make a declaration that say, though you slay me, God, I will trust you. I don't understand you, God, but I'm going to trust you. It doesn't make sense to me, God, but I'm going to trust you. I prayed and you haven't answered me, God, but I'm going to trust you. Unexpected things have happened to me, but I'm going to trust you. When I am left by myself, I'm still going to trust you. How could Job say that? No matter what I go through, week after week, I will trust you. I think there are three things, and then we can go on our merry way. There are three times in our lives when we need to trust God. And that's what Job experienced. We need to trust God, number one, when people hurt us. We need to trust God when people hurt us. Job had three friends, Eldad, Zophar, and Bildad. And when Job was going through what he went through, the Bible says that his three friends came, and initially they were effective because they were practicing the power of presence. They stood there with Job, but as soon as they started talking, they began to hurt Job because they began to say, Job, you must have sinned. What did you do to cause your family to be going through this? The people he trusted are now saying to him, tell us what you did. While you and your family is being destroyed, accusing Job of being a sinner. Job, what did you do? Because it's painful when your best friends who know you and know your lifestyle lose faith in why you're sick. It's hard, it's painful, it's difficult. But because you see, if you live long enough, Satan always have somebody on assignment to get under your skin. One more time, you missed that at home. Satan always have somebody on assignment to get under your skin. Somebody wake up every single day with one agenda, and that is to mess with you. Every day, somebody wake up out of their beds looking for you to mess with you, to get on your last nerves. And that's what these friends were to him are here. When somebody hurt you, the temptation is want to give them a piece of your mind, to tell them how you feel about them. When somebody hurt you, the temptation always is to put your hand up aside their heads. When somebody hurt you, the temptation always is to burst the car window or to puncture a car tire. Oh, but David says, no, don't do that. Fret not yourself from evildoers, because they soon will be cut off. Don't be envious of those who plan your destruction, because they are workers of iniquity, and they soon will be cut off. David said, don't do that. I know it's hard how to handle your haters, but God said, I will handle your haters for you. God says, I can do it. Trust me, don't cuss nobody else. I can handle your haters. Put your enemies in my hands and watch me handle your haters here. He says, when people hurt you, trust God. Trust God to take care of those who hurt you. Secondly, Job says, trust God when your past haunts and hinders you. Trust God when your past haunts and hinders you. Everybody has a past. Everybody has a past. And what we have done in our past is not always glorious. I hope I can get an amen from somebody this morning. Not everything in our background is beautiful here. Can you imagine this morning if God should just remove what's on your TV screen, your iPhone screen, your phone screen, and give a flashback of your own life? And just play a videotape of everything that you have done? That nobody, if it's shown on a major screen, nobody would talk to you because they didn't believe you did that, went there. They wouldn't believe it if God gave us a flashback of our lives. Whenever God is trying to take us to the next level, somebody with memory will always come and want to take us back to where we used to be. Whenever God is trying to take us and promote us spiritually to a new level of understanding, a new level of being effective, there's always somebody with memory who want to remind you of what you used to be and where you used to go. And that's what happened here in the case of Job here. For 30 chapters in the book of Job, Job was wasting time arguing with those who want to take him back to what life used to be and forgot who brought him out, who forgot what God did for him. They want to remember what used to be. You remember that some of you many years ago in your homes used to wear something called jerry curl? Some of you used to have stockings on your head, plastic bag on your head, walking down the streets in your jerry curl that was greasy. Look back at your old pictures. You don't want to go back to those days of jerry curls. But many of you used to wear them. When you look in your photo album, it surprised you. But God has transformed you. God has changed you. Look at what God has done to you now. Job is arguing with them for 30 chapters. Then Job stopped suddenly and took his eyes off them and put his eyes on God. And what a difference it makes. Job recognized, you can't forgive me my sins. You can forgive the offense or the offense that I did to you, but you can't forgive my sins. The only person who can forgive my sins is who? God. The only person. Confess your sins one to another. David said, against thee only, God, have I sinned and done this thing in your sight. If I confess my sins, he's faithful and what? Just. To forgive me of all my sins and to cleanse me of all unrighteousness. Yes, I have failed. Yes, I have messed up. I'm not perfect. But he says, if you put your trust in God, God will forgive you. Job says, I took my eyes off them and I put them eyes on God because only God can forgive. When do we trust God? When people hurt us. When do we trust God? When our past hinders and haunts us. When do we trust God? Job says, as men. Job says finally, when your problem is greater than you can handle. When your problem is greater than you can handle. When it gets to the point where your problem has gotten so big that you said there is nothing I can do about it. He says, trust God to handle it. When you go through one loss after the other, when you lost your mom and lost your aunt and lost your uncle in this pandemic, do you trust God when the losses are too much for you to bear? When the money is all gone, trust God. When the children are killed, Job says, trust God. When your servants are slaughtered, trust God. When your health has failed, Job says, when your reputation is in trouble, when your family is in jeopardy, he says, trust God. When you find out that your job is no more, trust God. When your marriage is acting strange, trust God. Because what you need to discover in life, Brother Curly, if it's not one thing, it's another. If it's not shortage of money, it's a shortage of a marriage. If it's not a marriage, it's a job. If it's not a job, it's your health. If it's not your health, it is one child acting crazy. If it's not one child acting crazy, as you fix one, here comes another one acting crazy. If it's not the roof, it's the kitchen. If it's not the kitchen, it's the bathroom. It's always something going on here. If it's not your friends talking about you, it's your aunt who is sick. It's your always something. If it's not one thing, it is another. And what do you do when it seems like all hell has broken loose? Where do you put your trust when life throws you a curveball? When a situation is more than you can handle. Job says in those moments, Job said God shows up. And what God did here is so powerful. God recognized where Job was. So the Bible says God took Job on a cosmic field trip. And don't lose me this morning. Stay with me for a little while. He took Job on a cosmic field trip. And he shows Job some of the things that were in the world. He said, Job, look at the stars in the sky. Job, feel the wind against your skin. Look at the fish swimming up the streams. Look at the leaves changing on the trees, Job. Job, watch how everything is working in nature. The Bible said God took Job on those great cosmic field trips. God said, Job, let me ask you some questions. You think you had it all together? It's my turn, Job, to ask you some questions. Job, who put the wet in water? Tell me, Job, who allowed the water to be wet? You tell me, Job, who put the stars in the sky, allowed the stars to rise in the east and to set in the west? You tell me, Job. You think you're in charge. You tell me what causes the leaf to change their color in the fall. You tell me. You think you know it. You tell me why the fish swims upstream. You tell me who put the Grisby in beer and the bow wow in the dog and the meow in the cat. You tell me. You tell me, Job, why is Trump still in the White House? You tell me. Only God knows. When life becomes bigger than all of us, he says, and you feel as if you can't hold on any longer. The same God who flung the stars in the sky, the same God who changes the color of the leaves, there's the same God who made the green in grass. Don't worry. He is still your God. He is still your God. Don't you worry. He got you. You can trust him. He can hold you. He can sustain you. If the truth be told, men who are here and those who are watching, boys and girls, if the truth be told, there's somebody who is watching me right now who can testify that they used to be broke. You have been broke to your last dime. Didn't God provide? Didn't God come through for you? There's somebody here who had an addiction who's watching me. Didn't God deliver you from the addiction? There's somebody who's watching who had to go through radiation and chemotherapy, and it seems so dark, but didn't God bring you through? God said, you got to trust me. I brought you through. I was there. Somebody lost their job. Didn't God give you another one? Somebody's child was locked up. Didn't God work it out? He said, you got to trust me. God will put you through. When friends hurt you, trust God. When your past haunts you, trust God. And when your problems seem bigger than you can deal with, trust God. Trust God. Jehovah, in you I trust. If in you I will always trust. I believe you, God. In you I trust.